Is there any hard evidence outside of the Bible for the existence of ancient Israel's King David? For a long time, the answer was no. That is, until the discovery of the Tel Dan inscription.
The Tel Dan Stele is one of the most famous and important discoveries ever in biblical archaeology.
Buried beneath rubble, broken in pieces, reused as ordinary building material. By every measure, this stone should have been silent forever. Yet nearly 3,000 years after it was shattered, a single ray of sunlight struck its surface, and history spoke. What emerged from the ground was not a scroll, not a manuscript, not a biblical text copied by later believers. It was something far more dangerous to skeptics. An enemy inscription, a foreign king's boast, a hostile voice from the ancient world itself. And in that voice were words many insisted never existed. Before we uncover exactly what those words were, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. If you care about history, archaeology, and the Bible examined with clarity and depth, subscribing helps keep this work going. Now, let us step into the dust of the ancient Near East. The discovery takes place at Tel Dan, an ancient city located at Israel's far northern edge. In biblical language, Dan marked the extreme boundary of the land, from Dan to Beersheba. But long before Israel existed, this was a powerful Canaanite stronghold known as Laish. Laish was no village. It was a fortified city with massive earthen ramparts, thick walls, and a commanding position over key military routes. Armies moving south from Damascus, Assyria, or Babylon passed dangerously close to Dan. That geography made the city valuable, and repeatedly doomed. When the Israelite tribe of Dan eventually captured Laish, they renamed it Dan, but isolation remained its curse. Far from Jerusalem, far from Samaria, vulnerable to attack. Again and again, Dan was conquered, burned, rebuilt, and destroyed. Those cycles of destruction left behind thick archaeological layers that would one day preserve a secret no one was looking for. In 1993, excavations at Tel Dan were being led by veteran archaeologist Avraham Biran. His team was carefully uncovering an Iron Age plaza near the city wall, just beneath a clear destruction layer. One day, surveyor Gila Cook paused. The sun reflected sharply off a black basalt stone embedded sideways in a wall. The reflection revealed something unnatural. Straight lines, carved lines, letters. Cook called for Biran. When he examined the stone, he reportedly froze. Then came the words every archaeologist dreams of saying, "Oh my God, we have an inscription." At first, it seemed like just another ancient text. Tel Dan had already yielded inscriptions before. But this one would shake biblical studies to its core. As more fragments were uncovered, scholars realized the stone was not originally part of a wall at all. It had once been a victory stele, a royal monument erected by a conquering king. Sometime after the city's destruction, the monument was smashed and its fragments reused as construction stones. 3 pieces were eventually recovered, preserving 13 lines of text written in Old Aramaic. The wall into which the fragments were built dated to the 8th century BCE. That meant the inscription itself had to be older, likely from the 9th century BCE. Pottery above and below the fragments confirmed it. Now came the translation. The text is a boast, a brutal, triumphant declaration of conquest. The king who wrote it describes marching into battle, defeating rival kingdoms, capturing horses and chariots, and killing kings. Then comes the line that changed everything. The inscription states that the author defeated the king of Israel and the king of the house of David. Those words, House of David, are unmistakable in the original language. Not hinted, not reconstructed, clearly carved in stone. To make this unmistakably clear, here is the heart of what the Tel Dan Stele says. In plain terms, the author claims that he went to war, defeated Israel, killed its king, and also killed a king who belonged to the House of David, a ruling dynasty named after a man called David. This is not the Bible speaking. This is not Israel praising its own past. This is an enemy king recording his victory. Ancient rulers did not invent rival dynasties. They did not name fictional houses. They recorded real political powers they defeated, because their own glory depended on it. Whoever David was, this inscription proves he was known well enough that an entire kingdom was identified by his name. The stele does not name its author directly, but most scholars agree it was written by Hazael, king of Aram Damascus. Hazael ruled in the mid-9th century BCE and is mentioned repeatedly in the biblical books of Kings as a ruthless enemy of Israel and Judah. Other candidates have been proposed, including kings named Ben-Hadad, but Hazael fits the historical, linguistic, and military context best. If this identification is correct, then the inscription dates to roughly 840 BCE, barely a century after David's reign. That timing matters. Islam's claim depends on the idea that biblical history was reshaped long after the events it describes. But the Tel Dan Stele proves that knowledge of David and his dynasty existed outside the Bible, before later Jewish transmission, and centuries before Islam. This means the Bible preserved genuine historical memory rather than inventing it. The argument that the Bible was changed collapses here, not because Christians say so, but because an enemy king carved history into stone. Shortly after the Tel Dan discovery, scholars re-examined the Mesha Stele, an inscription from Moab, another enemy of Israel. Many now recognize a second reference to the House of David there as well. This matters deeply. Two separate enemy kingdoms, two independent inscriptions, one historical conclusion. David was real. His dynasty was known. The Bible did not invent him. The Qur'an claims continuity with earlier prophets, while rejecting the reliability of the biblical record describing them. But continuity without history is a problem. If the Bible's account of David was corrupted, why does pre-Islamic archaeology confirm it? If Jewish scripture was rewritten, why do foreign kings already know David's dynasty? If biblical history is unreliable, why does stone agree with it? The Tel Dan Stele forces a conclusion Islam does not account for. Sometimes, history does not whisper. Sometimes, it shatters claims in stone.